Howdy, I'm Lee Wilson, and this is TGO Wyoming, on the move. Today, I want to talk about truck guns, or why you might want to carry a long gun in your vehicle. So, there's a reason for this. I'm going to kind of just tell a little story here, just a quick one. When I was growing up in New Mexico, my dad always carried a long rifle in his car, a long gun in his car. My uncles did the same, because they traveled a lot of the back roads in New Mexico. They worked in the oil field for a long, long time. When they were growing up, all the way into adulthood and whatnot, they always had a long gun with them. And there's a reason for this. When you're traveling out in the back roads, weird stuff happens. And, it still happens to this day. It's been going on for as long as people have existed. But weird things happen out in the middle of nowhere. And back in those days, and even, relatively recently, it was not unheard of. No, it wasn't common, but it certainly wasn't unheard of for people to just take pot shots at you or shoot at your vehicle when you're out in the middle of nowhere if they thought they could get away with it. So, having a rifle with you that is capable of engaging a long-distance target was definitely beneficial, because if somebody's shooting at you from 200 yards away and you're out in the middle of nowhere and it's not exactly easy to get to cover, you better be able to return some fire and get their heads down so that way you can get out of there. And I'm not talking about, counter sniper operations or anything like that. I'm talking about just getting somebody's head down so you can get the hell out of Dodge. So they always carried rifles in their trucks, and thankfully we never really had to use them. There's only been an instance or two that I know of where my dad and my uncle really had to lay down some firepower, and of course that was back in the 70s and 80s. So fast forward to modern day, my day and age, where I'm old enough to carry a rifle with me everywhere I go. Well, I live in Wyoming, and I'm a photographer, so I like to go out and find the roads less traveled and go out and see if I can get a good shot, a good photograph. And sometimes that means traveling the back roads. Actually, a lot of the times that means traveling the back roads, which under normal circumstances and 99% of the time is totally normal. It's totally fine. You don't even see a soul. But Wyoming also has a very serious meth problem. And meth producers generally don't take kindly to people, poking around in their neck of the woods. Now, thankfully, I haven't run into any problems while I lived in Wyoming. But back in the day in Texas, in the panhandle of Texas, I did have a very odd encounter. And fortunately, I had a couple of friends with me, and we had just been out to the range, and we decided we were going to go explore the panhandle a little bit, because there are some really cool back roads out in the panhandle of Texas, up in the Amarillo, Pampa area. So we're driving down the dirt roads, and up comes screaming a Toyota, not a Toyota, a Nissan, like a Nissan Xterra. And they're hauling ass. I'm like, oh man, these people are really in a hurry. And they keep creeping up on the vehicle, and then they start getting really close. And they're not, I slow down, pull over on the dirt road a little bit, let them pass. They don't. They just stay up on the bumper, and they're flashing their headlights, they are honking their horn, they are waving out the window. I'm like, what on earth is going on? They do not want us going down this road. So then they keep trying to pass us, presumably to get in front of us to slow us down and get us to stop. Well, I wasn't about to let that happen. So I put the foot down on the accelerator, and we start taking off, cruising down this back road. Now, we're driving my old Grand Marquis. This is not exactly a battle wagon, man. This is not something that you really want. But we started loading up. I told my buddy Travis, hey, get something ready. These guys are up to no good. This is a bad situation. So he grabs his AK and kind of hoists it up in the back window and makes a show of loading a mag. And that got him to back off real quick. And we just took off out of there as fast as we could, hit some of the back roads, made some turns, and boogied on out of there. Now, in an engagement like that, man, it sure would have been good to have the long gun with us if anything had turned, truly south and sour. Fortunately, it didn't. And I am always appreciative of any situation that turns out like that, where we can just boogie on out and there is not a conflict, because that's the number one rule of conflict resolution is, stay out of it if you can. So out here in Wyoming, we have great open wide spaces, and if something like that happened, if some drunken jerk decides that he's just going to start taking pot shots at my vehicle, I'd like to at least have some way of reaching out and touching it. So is that a likely situation? No. But it's always a good idea to have a long gun with you in the car. It's not likely that my car is going to burst into flames. I still have a fire extinguisher. It's not likely that I'm going to have a traumatic injury and have to use my Celox and my Israeli bandage to stop a major hemorrhage. Not likely, but I still carry my trauma kit. So you think of your long gun while you're traveling as your insurance policy. It's something that you're not likely to use, but man, if you need it, you're going to really need it. So it doesn't take a lot of extra space, doesn't take a lot of extra preparation, but just something to consider. If you're going to be traveling out in the back roads, especially if you're traveling out alone, without a support system, or outside of cell phone service, outside of radio range, have the means to protect yourself and take care of yourself, just in case you do find yourself in a situation where some nut job is bound and determined to end your life, or make you bug out and hunker down, or steal your vehicle. So having that extra distance, the ability to engage distance, is well worth throwing your gun in your truck. So on that note, thanks again for watching, and as always, stay safe, shoot straight, and don't forget to subscribe for more great videos.